Good afternoon, good morning, good night. This is Graham Gordon Thomas, the Rational Environmentalist. I'm also an evolutionist. An evolutionist is not necessarily an atheist. Whatever an atheist is, that is a connotation placed on people by people who say they believe in this, that, or the other. Well, I don't actually have a belief. Either I'm empty and don't know, or I'm pretty certain, or I can postulate, or go and make assumptions. But to say I have a belief would be going against how I think, because what is a belief? We don't know. But we know this though, some things we do know is that there's a thing called sentience, which is that the difference between robots and humans. And I would like to describe sentience as the spontaneous interaction between the primordial emotional consciousness and the evolved instinctive awareness of being. In other words, the interface between our basic emotional chemistry that's in all living things, as a basic emotional chemistry, it has an interface simultaneously with our intellect or our cognitive awareness. It's simultaneous, and this gives humans our feeling of our existence and vulnerability. What's happening though, unfortunately for humans, especially in the Western world, because of political correctness, which is basically programmed cyborgs, they're programming people to not to question, to reduce the competition in class, because it's not fair to have competition so the bright don't overshadow the not so bright. And then you got this, and the same way you program a human, you program a robot. Although it's different to robots, because humans have got to build the robots and build the robot brain. At the same time, humans build the human brain from birth. We don't automatically know anything. You're born a helpless baby, and how you are programmed with the interaction with your environment, with your mother, father, how they speak to you, how clearly they speak to you, whether they speak to you rationally with love and love everything, or irrationally with a sort of an agenda of loathing of others. Like women who loathe men, they will bring up their children maybe to be against men, when men are just another part of the universe, like women are. Or black people might bring their children up against whites, or white might bring their children, program them to be against black people, or whatever. Or Arabs program their children to be against non-Arabs, or Muslims, non-Muslims. We all are programs. We all are sentient programs when we're human. But the way it is now is that the way we are in the West, unfortunately, with Al Gore, the new deity, replacing Jesus as our saviour. Al Gore is now our saviour. He's creating a climate crisis, and I call it climate crisis psychosis, where he's creating in people's heads who never leave their rooms, who stay inside, indoors environment, saying they're worried about climate crisis. Well, climate crisis doesn't happen to people who sit indoors tweeting all day. Don't notice the weather at all. It's not going to affect them. What is going to affect them though is the creation of this program by people like Al Gore, who say you can't question people like Al Gore. You have to hate Donald Trump, but you can't question Al Gore. That is programming people. That is, instead of letting people make up their own mind and do your own research, find out for yourself. So people are self-programming, which is human, what humans should be idealistically as individual self-programming carbon-based organisms. That's what we are. Instead of having that, we've now got schools and universities and the media indoctrinating people into a regressive psychological or psychosis. So they think that they cannot question authority, whatever authority is, like Al Gore, for instance, or anyone else who says you have to believe in climate change. The thing about climate change is whether it's changing or not, and what you believe about it is totally different, absolutely different to what it actually is. If you want to believe that it's not going to bother you, this climate change, that is entirely okay. But they're saying, these brainwashers, the programming the young, he said, oh, you have to worry about this thing. No, you don't. It's like saying you have to worry about another team playing over there, or worry about trees over there, or worry about this or that, the other. No one should be able to place their worry or their concern upon another person. That's just called collective madness. They're creating a collective psychosis against something that may not have even affect any of them. We don't know how it turns out because the planet is so entirely unpredictable. You can get an earth tilt. You get massive solar flares. We're not worried about them, but they're more dynamic. They will have a far more dynamic effect on the being and presence of humans. A massive solar flare or a polar shift will have a far more dramatic effect than a climate change. Climate change may happen, but it's not dramatic. It happens occasionally anyway. There's nothing you can do about it. You can reduce your CO2, but whether you can change and alter the direction of a climate on Earth, that's another matter altogether. What you believe in that's entirely up to you. If people program you to believe this, that or the other, you are becoming part of their programming. You're not programming yourself. You're no longer a free individual to think for yourself. And that in itself is very dangerous. We see what happens with the collective madness of North Korea. Or any collectivism, what happens to it after 3 generations. And that's what North Korea is now 6, 7 generations in to that collective brainwashing. And when you watch them, they're all clones of each other. They're not much in the individual dynamics amongst any of them. And that's exactly what they're doing in the West with political correctness. They're removing conscious awareness, limiting it by regressing the program. It's a program of regressive cognition. So people are prone to believe like Al Gore and politicians, or no authority on anything other than what they represent, which is a corporate system. Each corporal being, yourself, is equal to a corporate or the corporate body. That's the most important thing to remember in this new world. You as an individual are as important as any other corporal body or any other individual on the planet. There's no authority over you other than what you decide is not the knowledge that advances you and progresses you as an individual. Do not let anyone program you, like Al Gore or any of these media moguls, or anyone program you to believe what they want you to believe. That's the best thing you can do for humanity, because it's not climate crisis or climate change that's the problem. It will be this diminishing conscious awareness amongst humanity, which will be taken advantage of by giant corporations which Al Gore represents. Because this man has no authority on anything at all. Whether he likes, well, no matter how the media portray him. He's a failed president who never made it, so now he's what he's got to do, a loose end, because he's not a creative individual. He's into making money for himself. That's the only thing he knows. That's what the corporate sector does. Anyway, just a little bit of a insight of why it's best to be an individual and learn and ask questions for yourself, to program yourself so you stay away from collectivism. There's no such thing as a we, unless it's a family. No such thing as us. It's you the individual. Don't join the collective. Think for yourself. That's the best thing you can do for humanity. Think for yourself. Because that's all these corporations who are telling you to think like they want you to think are thinking for themselves. Don't be used. This is Graham Gordon Thomas, the Rational Environmentalist.